In this brief tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create your table and your graph for your data project. Now, for my data project, I'm going to have the common theme of my team, that includes just me, to be team, the number of teams you're on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the number of teams you are on to the number of days you reported that you smoked. So that's going to be my data, and I'm going to need to make a table, and I'm going to need to make a chart. First, you were given a master copy of the table, and hopefully, if you haven't done that already, you can't edit this data. It's view only, so you do have to make a copy of the data. Then after you make a copy of the data, what I suggest you do is you make a separate brand new sheet that's going to store the data. This is going to be the data for reporting. So I'm just going to name this data for reporting by clicking on the name and then typing in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag the entire column of data onto the fresh sheet so it's cleaner and I don't have all this extra data mucking up my space. So column W has the number of teams, so I'm going to select the column on the top by this letter W, and I'm going to power click or right click, and I'm going to copy it all. Then I'm going to go over to my reporting page, which is where I'm reporting the data. I'm going to click on the cell A1, and then I'm going to power click again and paste. Might take a few seconds because there's a lot of data there. So now I have all the number of teams data there. Now I'm going to go back and repeat that process with the day smoking. So I'm going to grab the day smoking column and I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to go over to reporting and I'm going to go paste. Now I have to build my table. And my table is going to be built by taking all the possible values. I'm going to have to scroll around and make sure I hit them all, put them in a logical order. And I'm going to build up a table with all possible values arranged and organized. So for number of teams, I know I can have 0 teams. I know I can have 1 team. I know I can have 2 teams. And the last possibility is 3 or more teams. 3 or more teams. For the day smoking, I've noticed I can have NA. I notice I can have 0 days. I notice there's a 1 or 2 days. I notice there's it looks like 1 to 2. And I'm scrolling through the data to kind of figure out. I have a 3 to 5. I'm just going to copy this. 3 to 5. Is there a 6 to something? There is a... Looking for it, looking for it. There is a... There's got to be something in the 6 range. Still don't see it. 6 to 9. There it is. A lot of data here. 6 to 9. I noticed there was a 10 to 19, I believe it was. Just want to make sure I have it right. Don't want to make a mistake here. I'm going to copy that. And then it looks like there was a 20 to 29. And there's a all 30 days. So these are all the possible values I can have, which means I'm going to have a lot of countifs. Looks like I'm going to have 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 times 8, I'm going to have 32 countifs to create. So for each countif, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to type countifs, and then I'm going to say if the A column comma, is 0 teams. So I want to make sure I get this exactly right in quotes, and I'm just going to copy it so I know I have it exactly right. I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to paste it right in there. So 0 teams, and this is my next statement, and the B column, and for this I can't get to the B. See how the B's kind of blocked? That happens to you. What you can do then is you can just go B colon B, and I've got it. And then I'm going to go comma again, and it's going to be the NA. So I'm going to go in quotes NA, and I don't need that last one. And boom, 0 teams have NA. And I know I got something wrong because here's an example where 0 teams do equal NA. So let me just go back over my data to make sure I copied and pasted everything absolutely right. B is NA. Oh, here's my mistake. Boom, fixed it. Now that looks right. So there, I've got it right. So now a little trick you can do is, because this data is very similar, I'm going to go like this. Now you'll notice it's all the exact same. That's not what I want. But what I can do is I can use this kind of like a template. And I know it's going to be team with 1 team. And see, oh, that is not right. So I know there's some kind of mistake. So one team space, fixed it. And then for 2, I can fix this to be 2, and it's teams. Yep, let's see if I got that right. Oh, that looks right. And then for this one, I got to make sure I type it right. It's going to be 3 or more. Then I just continue that process all the way through, and watch how I kind of drag this out. And now I have, oh, that didn't work well at all. Notice how it went CC, DD, that's not what I want. So I'm going to have to do something like copy this, paste this, and it wasn't very smart. So I'm just going to change this to A, and this is still B colon B. And then I'm going to just continue the process. Just to spare you on the video, I'm going to do this off of the video and then show you when I get done. Now that I have all the data collected and put onto the table, what I'm going to do is just a nice little formatting thing and kind of make the data look nice. I might want to mess with fonts or anything like that that you want to mess with to make it look prettier. You're welcome to do that. I'm just going to put it like this. And then there's a couple of ways to capture it. You can use our friendly print screen and copy and paste it with that handy dandy print screen function. You can also copy the data, just the data itself, and you can paste it down. It's all kind of up to your preferences. If you have it linked to the spreadsheet, when you change it on the spreadsheet, it will also change it here. Both those ways are completely legitimate. This second manner is a little more flexible. This manner is a little more scalable, controllable. That it's just kind of up to personal preference, which way you get the data over. Now, I pasted this on the wrong page. I'm going to steal it by copying it. I'm going to put that on the table page. This is the page I meant it on. Now you have to be able to make a chart with your data. Now to make a chart, it's pretty cool. First, you start with just having the data on a table, and then you go to Insert Chart. And once you do that insert chart thing, you can look at all the different ways you can display the data. It gives you a suggestion. I'm going to try to figure out a way to make this data make more sense. This is really complicated and doesn't make much sense. So I'm going to keep messing with it until I get it the way I want it. I really don't like the way that looks. Just out of curiosity, what would this chart look like if I was just to take some of the data and format it? Again, you just mess with it till you get a story that makes some sense with the data, which can be really tricky. Making the charts pretty brainless, but actually getting the chart to make sense, that's where it can be really, really tricky. So I'm going to remove that one. I'm going to say one team. How many people had one team? Wow. Wait a second. Okay, so 30 days. Anyway, keep messing with the chart until you find something that's meaningful and allows you to have your data that makes sense. There's all kinds of different things you can mess with the chart title, from the title all the way to the way the data is organized. And make sure you get it in a way that makes sense so that the data tells a story. After messing around, I finally found a chart that tells the story. And from this chart and from the data on the table, it does seem that there isn't much of a relationship between being on a team and not smoking. In fact, people who were on 0 teams were more were they did not smoke much, and people were 3 or more teams, as you can see here. Again, there were less of them, but it doesn't seem that being on a team prevents you from smoking, and that there just doesn't seem to be a relationship between those pieces of data. So I could write about that in my hypothesis and show that the impact of being on a team isn't related to how many days teenagers report they smoked.